Good day for teleSUR. I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We start today in Brazil, where with just 2 days to go before elections, Workers' Party candidate and incumbent Rousseff has seen a surge in the polls. We go straight to our correspondent in Brazil, Stephanie Kennedy. Hello, Stephanie.
Good day. Well, the technical tie that had come to define the first half of this second round of presidential elections here in Brazil was suddenly severed last night when polls announced Dilma Rousseff's significant lead over Aécio Neves, breaking away from this technical tie. Now, the Datafolha poll released numbers that showed Dilma Rousseff with 48% of the support, Aécio Neves with 42%. The Ibope poll showed Dilma with 49% and Aécio with 41%. Those figures exclude blank votes or null votes. Now, Dilma Rousseff is also leading in the Minas Gerais state, which is the same state where Aécio Neves is governor. There she has 44% of the support. Other good news that was announced last night was the rate of unemployment that suddenly dropped as well to 4.9%. That is September's lowest rate since 2002. Now, meanwhile, economists and international experts, on hearing the news of Dilma Rousseff's lead, decided to devalue the real, and that fell by 1.1% against the dollar. Consequence? Coincidence? We don't know. We'll leave that up to you. I'm Stephanie Kennedy. This is teleSUR.
Important questions. Thanks, Stephanie. Brazilians won't be the only ones to take to the polls Sunday. Campaigning for the presidency in Uruguay closed yesterday. On Sunday, Uruguayan voters will decide whether to give the broad front ruling coalition another term after a decade of strong growth and leftist reforms. Opinion polls show that broad front candidate Tabaré Vázquez is leading in the polls, but the race will likely enter a second-round runoff. And now we turn to Mexico, where our correspondent Clayton Kahn continues to follow the latest developments in the case of the 43 missing students. Clayton.
Guerrero State Governor Angel Aguirre has finally succumbed to both social and political pressure, as he announced late yesterday in a televised speech that he would step down from office so as to, quote, favor the political climate, which has been severely stained after 43 students were forcibly disappeared by municipal police in the town of Iguala on September 26th. His Secretary of Social Development will take charge, presumably until the state holds elections in June 2015. The call for Aguirre's ouster has been a major demand of family and classmates of the missing students, pointing to systemic corruption throughout the state as being emblematic of his administration. Meanwhile, enraged protests throughout the country continue, demanding the return alive of the students. Late last night, a group of students took over a university TV station and broadcasted a message saying that they don't know where the line of organized crime ends and public security begins. This is Clayton Kahn reporting for teleSUR.
And thanks again to Clayton. And now we go to Colombia, where after 14 days of strike, workers of the nation's judicial system marched yesterday on Bolivar Plaza in the capital of Bogota. Strikers are demanding better wages and working conditions. The public employees are also demanding that more than 9,000 layoffs planned for November 15th are canceled.
We are prepared to go on strike indefinitely until the government sits down to talk with us and guarantees the employment of all workers as well as justice for the entire society.
And to Spain we go, where students ended a 72-hour strike there Thursday, rejecting an education bill that would decrease the number of scholarships and increase tuition fees. Over the last 3 years, tuition fees in Spain have increased by 50%. Thousands marched in 43 cities across the country. The protests included students from all levels as well as teachers and parents. They demanded the resignation of José Ignacio Wert, the Minister of Education, Culture and Sports. The head of Spain's Union of Students says that at least 90% of the Spanish public supports the strikes.
We had, I think, very detailed.
In the United States, the Pentagon says that during the U.S.-led coalition to defeat the Islamic State, 1,700 bombs have been dropped in Iraq and Syria. Now, despite the offensive, U.S. officials warn that the Islamic State could still capture the Syrian border town of Kobani. In response to the heavy fighting in Kobani, Iraqi Kurds have announced that they will send backup forces equipped with heavy weapons to fight the militants. In Mali, a 2-year-old girl has contracted the Ebola virus, making her the first to catch the virus in this West African country. This makes Mali the 6th African nation to have documented at least one case. The girl had just returned to Mali from neighboring Guinea, one of the worst hit countries. Meanwhile, in Sierra Leone, figures show that 20 people die from Ebola every day, with women and the poor making up the majority of victims. 49 new cases of the virus were diagnosed near the capital of Freetown this week alone. In New York City, a doctor tested positive for the Ebola virus yesterday. Dr. Craig Spencer had worked in West Africa with Ebola patients. He is the 4th person to be diagnosed with the disease in the U.S. and was quarantined in Bellevue Hospital 6 days after returning from Guinea. Mayor Bill de Blasio and Governor Andrew Cuomo have reminded New Yorkers that simply living near someone with Ebola does not create a risk of catching the virus.
Contract.
And we're going to end today with a look at sports. This weekend, soccer fans are gearing up for one of the sport's most important games. The Barcelona will take on European champions Real Madrid in what is known as El Clásico. The outcome is likely to impact who becomes Spanish champions. The star-studded match will feature a new player in Barcelona's colors, Luis Suarez, who makes his debut for the club 100 days after being banned at the World Cup for biting another player. Most eyes will be on the battle between the two players deemed to be the world's best, Barcelona's Lionel Messi and Real Madrid's Cristiano Ronaldo. Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, I'm Cody Weddle.